Welcome to the BEASTwriter family, where social media engagement is encouraged. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we are going to continue and wrap up my NFC West draft grades as it pertains to the San Francisco 49ers, obviously the Seattle Seahawks, did the Arizona Cardinals yesterday, and now we're wrapping up with the LA Rams. Now, before we go ahead and do that, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for subscribing to my channel. Just be sure to turn on and flip on the bell notifications so you get notified when I go live or when I upload content. If you were looking at my community page earlier today, you will notice that I have a huge shipment that I'm dishing out to all here in the BEASTwriter family of the BEASTwriter family giveaways. If you guys are new to subscribing to my channel, I run Family Friday giveaways every 2:30 p.m. on our live stream, if not a little bit earlier, if I hop on the live stream a little bit earlier. But nonetheless, I pick the winner on Friday, and then I'll either announce the winner on that Friday or the following Saturday. So again, thank you so much, and mahalo for the love and support. All right, so we're just going to go ahead right into it and break it down. We're going to talk about the LA Rams and the NFC West and the draft grade that I would give them. All right, so in essence, you got to take into the trades that were made prior to the draft taking place. One of the biggest trades that the LA Rams hit on was selecting and trading for and making the conscious choice to trade for a cornerback, shutdown cornerback, I should say, and cornerback Jalen Ramsey. Now, they gave up a lot of draft capital to the Jacksonville Jaguars, ultimately yielding a first-round pick, which ended up being number 25 overall. But with that being said, it was a smart play by the LA Rams because, again, they get a true shutdown corner who was locked up in the number 2 ranked position in my grading system. That's right. I have my own grading system. I don't rely on PFF. You guys know this if you follow me on Twitter. And I have Jalen Ramsey locked in as the number 2 ranked quarterback in 2020 in my grading system. He graded out a 7.1 out of a 10. If you're wondering how that ranking stacks up and how that stacks up out of a 10, because you guys are like, what does that mean? Well, in my grading system, 6.5 to 7 usually turns out to be a Pro Bowl player. Anything above 7 is technically an All-Pro. So Jalen Ramsey was just above a Pro Bowl player, borderline All-Pro player. And again, if you want some stats, here's some stats based on my grading system for you guys out there. All right, so in my grading system, in 2020, he was targeted 67 times, gave up 32 completions. Of those completions, he allowed 310 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. Now, with that being said, he also came up with 7 pass breakups and 1 interception on the season for a total quarterback passer rating of 69.9. That ranks second among all cornerbacks, boundary cornerbacks, aside from Jair Alexander, who actually topped him in 2020. So with that being said, now let's peel back another layer of the onion to get to the core in my grading system. In 15 games played that Jalen Ramsey played in 2020, 10 of those games, he yielded 20 yards or less. All right. In 10 of those 15 games, he yielded 20 yards or less in those respective games. So again, the ball wasn't thrown his direction very often. And when it does, he made the quarterback pay. He made the quarterback pay. So with that being said, if I was to put a stamp on this letter grade, the Jacksonville Jaguars, as you know, in hindsight, took running back Travis Etienne. The LA Rams already have Cam Akers, who they drafted in the 2nd round out of Florida State last year. So if you would ask me who I would rather have, Jalen Ramsey as opposed to Travis Etienne, it's a no-brainer. Give me Ramsey any day of the week. So that's why I give the LA Rams for the 1st round pick a letter grade of an A. All right, now let's go ahead and move on. I know you guys like these tickers here. The 2nd pick is Tutu Atwell, the diminutive yet shifty Tutu Atwell, who was drafted in the 2nd round, number 57 overall. And the question is, why did they go wide receiver? And it was kind of a head scratcher as the draft unfolded, simply because when you look at the offensive line with the LA Rams, especially at the center position, all they have right now is Brian Allen. He's penciled in as a starter. And if you're having a new quarterback who by the name is Matthew Stafford, who they made a trade for, and shipping off Jared Goff to the Detroit Lions, well, you're going to need to give him some supporting cast to work with. Right? And Brian Allen is not the answer. So when you had Creed Humphrey sitting there in the 2nd round, when you had guys like Quinn Miners sitting there in the 2nd round, but you opted to go for a trio of wide receiver set and go after Tutu Atwell because, again, you lost Josh Reynolds to the Tennessee Titans. I get it. But again, it does a wide receiver no justice if he doesn't have the time to gain the separation at the top of his stem because he doesn't have a stable offensive line in front of him or to work with. So that's why I felt like Creed Humphrey or Quinn Miners were solid, better plays. However, with that being said, I get why they went ahead and got Tutu Atwell. Now, people can say, oh yeah, they got Deshaun Jackson, who's a burner between the 20s. I get it. But again, can Deshaun Jackson stay healthy? I'm not so sure. I don't think GM Les Need is so sure. That's why they went out and got a player like Tutu Atwell, who will definitely take the shallow crossing digs away from Cooper Kupp and really be that gadget player for the LA Rams moving forward. And if you notice what the NFC West teams are doing, like the Seattle Seahawks and Arizona Cardinals respectively, they already got speedy slot receivers. Dwayne Eskridge goes to Seattle in my earlier podcast, and they got Rondale Moore going to the Arizona Cardinals in my earlier podcast. So with that being said, what do the LA Rams do? They went ahead and got the best of the bunch in their opinion after those guys, and that guy was Tutu Atwell. All right, now what does Tutu Atwell bring to the table? Again, he will instantly provide a plug and play in the trio wide receiver set and add an insurance policy in case Deshaun Jackson goes down to injury, teaming up with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp and give Matthew Stafford a trio of wide receivers to work with in year one down in LA. So I like this play, but again, I would rather them to solidify the need on the offensive line. I am a firm believer in games are won down to the trenches, and you guys all know how I feel about that. So I thought Quinn Miners, if not Quinn Miners, Creed Humphrey was definitely a great value choice here. Sitting here at 57, they opted not to go that route. Creed Humphrey actually goes to the Kansas City Chiefs, which I'll break down in my next podcast as we delve into the AFC West. So with that being said, I'm going to have to give this grade a solid B because I do like Tutu Atwell. I just don't like him over a guy like Creed Humphrey. Fair enough? Fair enough. All right. Now let's move on to the third round pick. They went ahead and pull up the ticker here. They got Ernest Jones in the third round, drafted number 103 overall. And the question is, why did they get a guy by the name of Ernest Jones? Well, Ernest Jones, it's a traditional two-down thumper, right? He's not going to wow you with those sideline-to-sideline movement skills. He's not really good in space. So again, he's a one-trick pony as a two-down run stuffer. So what he does really well is he reads his keys pre-snap, which allows him to really hit B-side containment and hit that A gap as well. So when you do that, you really get a two-down run stuffer who can really stop on obvious running down situations. Pass plays, different story. But at the end of the day, when you're drafting in the third round at 103, when this draft class isn't very deep to begin with, you get a player like Ernest Jones, and he has some upside as, if anything, a true backup special teams ace. So I like this pick of Ernest Jones. I think I like his potential a little bit more than his upside. What I mean by that is his upside is pretty much, we all know where his ceiling is at, but the potential to be a actual two-down run stuffer on obvious running situations is there. So again, how that's going to translate onto the field, time will tell, but I really like this pick. And again, Jones has limitations, but was a nice value pick for the LA Rams at number 103. So I'm going to have to give a value grade of an A for this draft selection. All right, now let's go ahead and move on to the next pick, the fourth round pick, number 117. This is my favorite of them all. Believe it or not, they got Bobby Brown III out of Texas A&M, drafted in the fourth round, number 117 overall. If you guys remember, this pick was given to the LA Rams because the 49ers acquired running back Trey Sermon at number 88, jumping with the LA Rams to that spot. And in return, the Rams dropped back, picked up this fourth round pick, number 117 overall. So it was a nice value pick for the LA Rams because they really needed a 3-4 nose tackle. Nose tackle Sebastian Joseph Day is in the last year of his contract, so he's not going to be returning next year. You kind of need something in return. So what do? You go out and get Bobby Brown III, who is a traditional zero technique, who can play in the 3 technique as well if he was on the 4-3 base. However, he's no pass rush player whatsoever. What you're going to get is another two-down run stuffer. He's going to clog up the middle, be the heart and soul of the defense in that 3-4 front, in that 34 base defense. So what you're really getting is, again, a true zero technique, a space eater who's really going to take on multiple double teams, freeing up the second level backers behind them. So I really like this play by Bobby Brown III. I thought it was still at number 117. So a nice solid play by the LA Rams to give them another insurance policy in case Sebastian Joseph Day is hitting with a contract snag or he bolts somewhere else and goes off to another team after the 2021 season. So with that being said, I like this selection of Bobby Brown III. So the letter grade for this selection, I would have to give an A. All right, now they stay here in the 4th round. All right, this is where it gets interesting. They went ahead, and if you noticed in the 3rd round, talked about this on earlier live streams and earlier podcasts, how these cornerbacks were going to fly off the board in round 3. They did, and ultimately here the LA Rams are sitting there in the 4th round, basically getting sloppy thirds at this point. But cornerback Robert Rochell, drafted in the 4th round, number 130 overall, where they trade down from number 121 to number 130. And what they did was, in order to make this move, they yielded a 6th round pick, drafted number 209 overall, to the Jacksonville Jaguars and GM Trent Baalke, moving down just 9 spots, pick up a 5th round pick, number 170, and also a 7th round pick, number 249. So when you put that all together, it's a 3-for-2 trade. And the Rams thought the need was there to go ahead and get more darts at the board as it pertains to later in this draft class. They went ahead and thought that move was in their best interest. They went ahead and made that play, got a Robert Rochell, a boundary cornerback who has the intangibles of a perfect height, weight, speed specimen for the NFL game. However, the fundamentals at the line of scrimmage are lacking. So that's something that's going to be need to be coached up there in LA. But ultimately, it was a nice sound play. So if I was to grade this specific player on this specific 4th round pick, I'm going to have to yield a letter grade of a B, because I do like the critical factors that Robert Rochell brings to the table. There wasn't much out there when they were on the board sitting there at number 130. That's why they moved down 9 spots from number 121, because there was a cluster of players there that they could have had. They just opted for Robert Rochell. So again, a grade of a B for that draft selection. All right, now let's wrap it up. The rest of the draft picks, we have 5 of them. So the LA Rams went ahead and they used the shotgun approach, just like I talked about earlier live streams, in real time as the draft was unfolding. They let teams that I was told we're going to use the shotgun approach just to cover their bases in case one of those higher rated players doesn't pan out. With that being said, the LA Rams went ahead and got wide receiver Josh Jacobs in the 4th round, drafted number 141 overall. They got Ernest Brown the 4th in the 5th round, number 174. Running back Jake Funk in the 7th round, number 233. Wide receiver Ben Skronik in the 7th round, number 249, a pick that they received from Jacksonville in that earlier trade discussed about. And last but not least, they got outside linebacker Chris Garrett in the 7th round, number 252. So if I was to give a final grade on the entire draft class for the LA Rams, I'm going to have to give them a solid B, because again, I like the move for Jalen Ramsey, a true shutdown corner, arguably the best cornerback in the NFL today. And when you get that, you can't give anything less than a B grade, because again, how many boundary cornerbacks are at Jalen Ramsey's level? Not very many. And take that into account, they brought in Tutu Atwell in the 2nd round. So now what they're doing is they're forcing the 49ers to go ahead and really put pressure on that nickelback situation. K'Waun Williams is in the last year of his contract, signing a 1-year deal. So he's off. They whiffed on not going after nickelback Asante Samuel, moving back a few spots from 43 to 48, 5 spots to be exact, with the Las Vegas Raiders, and got Aaron Banks and missed out on Asante Samuel. So what did the LA Rams do? They're like, they missed out on Asante Samuel. They're dumb. Let's get Tutu Atwell to kind of counter that slot wide receiver position, so we can create a mismatch nightmare for defensive coordinator. New defensive coordinator, DeMeco Ryans. And again, I like the 3rd round pick of Ernest Jones. I like the 4th round pick of Bobby Brown III. I think he's going to be a nice steal and a nice plug and play for the team's future moving forward for Sebastian Joseph Day. So again, I like these picks that were made. And again, a final grade of a B for me. All right. So that's it for this podcast. If you like my analysis and insights, please be sure to hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. So BEASTwriter family, what are your thoughts? I love engaging with you guys on this platform on this lovely Saturday. Every day I like to do a podcast, and we are just wrapping up the NFC West and now starting the AFC West after this podcast concludes. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care. BEASTwriter out.